What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about Dewey in Scream 5, Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. I've been doing this, I've been covering Scream every week for the past several weeks. If you guys do like that, by the way, if you guys like my coverage of Scream, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. All the other ways of supporting me on my Twitter, Discord, second channel, they're all in the description below. But I started to do this little series, right, of the original, the OG cast, and last week we talked about Gale. We talked about, if Courtney Cox's character of Gale could die in Scream 5, or whatever you want to call it. I'll probably go back and forth in the names I call it up until I just officially call it just Scream, right? But we talked about that, and I went through the pros, the cons, what makes sense. Dewey is up this time, and then next week we're tackling the hardest character, I would say, to choose from all of these in Neve Campbell's Sydney. So for Gale, I made the case that I think she could go. I think people weren't. I think people were generally pretty okay with what I said in the video. I know maybe it came across that just because she's the oldest character, I want her to go. I feel like that's partially true, but that is not the full reason. And now Dewey is a little bit more difficult, right? So let's talk about him a little bit. Dewey is a character that's a fan favorite. There's no denying it. All three of these, I think, for different reasons, are fan favorites. And his character originally, right, if you guys know the history of Scream, his character was supposed to die off at the end of Scream 1 when he got stabbed in the back, but, Wes Craven told him, well, wave at the end, and, maybe we'll bring you back, maybe we won't, and then they said, okay, we'll bring you back for Scream 2, and ever since, he's been part of the cast. Relatively safe, no, I would say, Sydney and Gale have had, closer brushings with the killer of each movie than Dewey necessarily has, but Dewey, I think, provides a very cool role to these movies. I mean, he's a very fundamental part of it. And although he wasn't in Scream 4 very much, which is disappointing, and I think it's disappointing for that. It's also probably going to be disappointing for people when they see that all three of these characters will probably barely even be in the new Scream movie. But Dewey is somebody that a lot of people like, and I think they like. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I do want to do maybe like a ranking video of these characters, even maybe per movie if you guys want to see that. But I don't know if people would say, the majority would say they like Dewey more than Gale. I certainly do. I think Gale is probably a more developed character, okay, with like story and emotions. I mean, Dewey's got all that, but I think Gale is just a more fleshed out character than Dewey. But I think I like Dewey more. Again, the kind of persona that David Arquette plays in these movies is phenomenal. But he is a fan favorite. He is getting older, and I can use the age card for for any of these characters, and I will use them for all three of these characters, by the way. But no, honestly, it goes back exactly what I said with Gale. The issue is, what do you do with this movie? It's a passing of the torch movie. You could argue in Scream 4, the only thing that the whole point of that movie was to pass the torch to a newer cast, right? It was most apparent with Neve Campbell. And I think it always, for as long as Neve Campbell is in these movies, it always will be the most apparent that she is the one kind of passing the torch down to a younger generation. I mean, obviously, like, different generations of ghost faces are coming up, just different, obviously a new generation of characters in general. But, you know what I mean? For Dewey, like, to hand like the sheriff, hand a deputy, hand whatever, over to somebody else, I mean, you can do it, and maybe he'll be retired. I saw a lot of people say that maybe he's retired in this one and he comes back out of retirement. I think that is something generally you would probably do. With that being said, again, he's like 49 years old, 50 years old by the time this movie comes out. I mean, there's still police officers that are active when they're that age, so he doesn't have to be retired, but maybe just because of the stuff that's gone on in this world, right? Maybe he's just decided that he's done for what, maybe he's saved up enough money and he can do it. So what I'm trying to point out is this. Dewey, I think out of the three of them, is the safest to actually return. I don't think it takes all that much to bring him back. I think he probably, I don't know if he likes it or is has the biggest connection to it. I mean, Neve Campbell, what it did for her career and how important it is to her. But I would say that I do think David Arquette probably likes being in these movies more than the rest. Like, if you asked him to be in Scream 6, 7, 8, 9, he'd probably say, yeah, where do I sign the contract? Whereas Neve Campbell would be like, yeah, I don't think so, or I don't know, or you're really gonna have to convince me, right? In fact, that's how it went. She needed convincing. Now, we don't know if they had to convince David Arquette and Courtney Cox, but she needed convincing to come back. I would argue David Arquette probably didn't. That he would just say, yeah, I'll do it whenever you want me to, right? So in that way, Dewey, I feel like maybe would even be the safest because you could probably bring him back for all of them. The point of the police force in these movies are never the most important. You know what I mean? They really, again, it rests on the killers, whatever group of friends that you were dealing with at the time, the fake outs, Nev Campbell, right? That's where mainly, Gale's got a big arc to it as well, but I think eventually you retire that. And like I said that with the last video, maybe you do that. But again, with Dewey, I think, yeah. The thing is this, though. He's connected to Gale, okay? Dewey's connected to Gale. So if you do something to Gale, Dewey is directly affected by that. So you do have to wonder with that, because say they kill one of the three here, and that's what I've said, right? Do they kill one? Do they kill two? Do they kill all? Do they kill none? Those are the only options, right? But if you kill Gale, even going with the last video, well, Dewey and Sidney are directly connected to that, and you would imagine that either in this movie or the next movie, they were, something would connect with them with that, with that moment, and we'd be able to see that. So that would be cool. So in that way, I think Dewey's the most safe, but also, let me say this, though. That kind of puts him at the most danger, doesn't it? When you think a character is safe in these movies, they're oftentimes not. Now, the movies have always prided themselves on no one's safe. And that's generally, besides these three characters, no one is safe. With that being said, even these three characters, again, I saw some people say that now I don't know if this is true, but I saw some people say that they saw an interview with Courtney Cox saying that she told Wes she wanted to die off, in Scream 4, like kill her character off, and he didn't do it. We know Scream 1, again, with Dewey, and we also know the original script for Scream 4 could have led, Sidney to either be dead or we wouldn't know at the end of it and maybe kill her off, permanently going into the 5 and 6 that they had planned, okay? So while you could say that none of these three characters, or you could say these three characters are pretty protected, you could argue they were not. You could argue that they have experimented or at least talked about the possibility of taking any of these characters out at any given time. And again, I do think that is something that is really, really cool about this movie franchise and about these characters, is that really none of them, like going into this movie, I think even specifically, maybe not Scream 4 back in the day, but this movie specifically, I am going to be very worried about these three characters. And heaven forbid the movie opens with one of these three characters answering a phone. It's terrifying, because do they pull a fake out where they don't kill them in the beginning? Remember, the original idea for Scream 4 is Sidney was going to get attacked in the beginning of Scream 4, but she would survive it. So they've experimented with different ideas now they're different writers, they're different directors, all this different stuff. They're all different. So I'm not saying these ideas are going to be fully fleshed out or fully like re-talked about, right? They're not going to go back into it, but I think Dewey's possible. I really, really do. I feel like, again, his situation, his character, his literally him, David Arquette, I think makes him out to be relatively safe, but at the same time, that could put him in the most danger, where it's like, you know what? I would say this. Out of the three characters, if you had asked me right now, maybe opinions change over time, and I think they do, but if you ask me right now which character I would be most surprised at if they took out, I'd say Dewey. I would not be surprised at all if they took out Gale for reasons I said in the last video. And Sidney, there's a long list of reasons why, at the very least, to be worried about her character, right? Where you won't, you would want her to survive, but you just don't know, because think about how big that would be to take her character out, right? You can come up with a lot of things. With Dewey, I think it's a lot more silence. I don't think really people are saying, well, if he dies, these are the ramifications if you keep him around here. You know what I mean? I think he's always been around. He fills his spot in these movies fantastic. He's really, really good in all of these movies. He's a fan favorite for sure. Obviously, he's one of the three, I would say, biggest ones. So I would want, like all of these, and like I've said, if you take these guys out, any of them, you need to do it good. You need to do it justice. And I don't mean really graphically or gory, right? I don't mean that. In fact, I would probably not even prefer that, because that would kind of be I don't want them suffering. I don't want it to be, I was going to say I don't want it to be a big thing. You do want it to be a big thing, but you don't want it to be too crazy, right? So you could say that, but at the same time, there's a reason why we like all these characters, right? I actually don't want them. I would say right now, I don't want any of these three characters to go by the end of this movie, okay? And if you do take one one out, again, you need to do it justice. So if you take out Dewey, I mean, man, oh man, you better do it good. And I don't even, and the hard part is, and I know because it's kind of a stupid thing to say, but I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? I don't even know what kind of, and I know that's maybe hypocritical to say, well, you can't give a suggestion. You can't say you want it one way or the other, but not say, how you would do it, right? Because then you would just pick on it no matter what. I get that, but I think Dewey is definitely a possibility, like all three of these characters are. Again, I think he's the safest, but at the same time, I think he's also, maybe because of that reason, he's most at danger to go. But let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think they would do with Dewey's character in this movie? Do you think they'll take him out? Let me know in the comments. Again, as always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And like I said, if you want to support me on Twitter, you can follow me at Podcast Now 15. You could join our Discord server. You could subscribe to my second channel, Podcast Now Plus. All of those would be greatly appreciated. All three of those, by the way, the links for them are in the description below, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.